Hi, this is Mrs. Rye on behalf of the King High School Math 1 team, and I'm going to be explaining some of the gradebook changes that we have set up for the distance learning time frame of April 13th through May 28th. You may have already noticed them when you're looking in Aries. This is the information we sent out previously. This was, I think, sent out the week before we started distance learning, and I wanted to touch on a couple of the points that were sent out, specifically number 3, where it says all the work that you do will enhance your semester 2 grade if your work is done on time, completed in good faith, and fulfills all the requirements, expectations of your teacher. And number 4, distance learning assignments will be reported in a new gradebook. It's going to be called Math 1 Quarter 4 Gradebook, something to that effect. The new gradebook will include your Quarter 3 grade and the distance learning assignments. The final grade shown in the Math 1 Quarter 4 gradebook will be the final semester 2 grade. At the end of our 6 weeks of distance learning, that's the end of the semester, that's the end of the school year. Again, whatever grade shows up in Math 1 Quarter 4 in that gradebook will be the final grade that will go onto the transcript. Any work that is turned in, I would also add on, point 5, any work turned in will receive either a not applicable NA, or full credit, or partial credit if the teacher is allowing partial credit at the teacher's discretion. NA assignments will not deduct any points from your grade, but they will not add any points either. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this presentation. So why did we decide to create a new gradebook for distance learning? This is kind of the overview and the reasoning. So in the previous gradebook, this was everything assigned from the beginning of the semester in January. And we also did the same type of gradebook for semester 1. We have used what's called a rubric grading scale, mastery grading scale, and it follows a 4-3-2-1 design. It's based on mastery of standards, as opposed to the traditional A, B, C, D, F range. Traditional would be like 100 to 90 would be an A, 89 to 80 would be a B, 79 to 70 would be a C, and so on. So we, several years ago in Math 1, decided to do the rubric grading scale, as it represents a more fair distribution of the grade based on the mastery of standards. So we had this set up as we always have. However, once we had to switch over to distance learning, the way that distance learning work is designed to only increase the grade. And in order for us to allow any kind of adjustments to the grade that was existing already, we couldn't use a rubric grading scale because there's some limitations to our gradebook in Aries that do not allow us to add extra credit or make any adjustments outside of the scale that we've already set up, which left us with a limitation. So we had to come up with a new solution, which would be to create a whole new gradebook. So it says here in the first point, the old gradebook did not allow for extra credit assignments outside of that scale or within the existing grade weight categories. Previously we had homework and classwork was in the 10% category, chapter tests was in the 20% category, and chapter tests were in the 70% category, and then the final exam fell into its own 20% category. And because we won't have a final exam, our distance learning setup doesn't allow that, will not allow that. We have to adjust accordingly. So the old gradebook we're going to keep in existence. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's going to preserve all the work, scores, progress, and assignment categories up through the school closure on March 13th. So whatever the students did, whatever work they turned in, any test scores they earned will maintain in that gradebook. And the cumulative grade for quarter 3, which we had just finalized our quarter 3 grades, I believe last week, and those will be showing up on a progress report that will be sent home. That will be the student's final semester grade if they don't do anything else from this point on. If they have not engaged with the distance learning material, whatever they have for quarter 3, that's what their grade will be for the end of the semester. The new gradebook. If you're looking at the gradebook from your side in Aries, what you're looking at is a new total points grading. This will allow students to submit new assignments that will have an incremental and visible increase to their grade. So in the 6-week distance learning time period, in Math 1, we are going to have roughly 30 to 33 assignments, give or take a few, depending on the teacher. 30-something odd assignments, and each assignment will be worth a certain number of points. And since we're switching to a total points grading, it's going to be very clear that if the student completed the assignment satisfactorily, that their grade will increase by a certain number of points. So the total grading, the quarter 4 gradebook includes the cumulative quarter 3 grade. It's going to be listed as assignment number 1. And if no new assignments are completed in quarter 4, the overall semester grade will remain what it was in quarter 3. So that is where you might be confused looking in the new gradebook, and that's why I'm going to go over what it looks like, what it will look like. As I mentioned, we're going from a rubric grading to a total points grading. And just so you can see what it looks like, the 4, 3, 2, 1 system here, when you looked at the gradebook before, it was a score between 0 and 4, 4 being the highest amount possible. And then we also gave you this conversion just to give you a guideline as to how our mastery scale compared to the traditional scale. And as you can see, like the A was 100 to 90, a B was a much wider range than traditional, so 89 to 70. You can compare that to what we call a B or a 3. C was a 69 to 55, so again a much wider range compared to a traditional setting. And then D, 54 to, if my menu can to 30, and then under a 30 would be a 0. So how it will compare when you're looking at the new gradebook, we had to convert the old score to just a straight up points out of 100. So it's fairly straightforward, and I'll show you an example on the next slide. But it says here in the note, to maintain letter grades from quarter 3, like if your student had a B+, for instance, their grade fell into this range, a 3.39 to 3.29. We had to make sure that when we represented their quarter 3 grade in the new gradebook, that it would still be a B+. So their score in the new gradebook would be somewhere between an 86 and an 89 at the teacher's discretion. So to maintain letter grades from quarter 3, we have to keep the same percentage ranges, which actually work to the student's advantage, offering greater opportunity to earn a passing grade. So since we have such a wider range for each letter, this will give the students a better chance of passing the class. Here's an example. When I transferred my students, so these are actually my actual students, the previous gradebook, these scores represent the quarter 3 cumulative grade. So in the previous gradebook, based on all work completed prior to March 13th. And you can see the scores, 3.1, 3.5, 2.9, and so on. So the same students in the new gradebook, this is what the first part of the grade looks like. It includes assignment number 1, which is their 3rd quarter grade. So out of 100 points, what was their 3rd quarter grade? Look at my first student, 3.1 translated to an 85%. So As you can see, the first score in the gradebook for this student would be an 85 out of 100 points. So any additional assignments completed beyond this first assignment will add to the 85 points. You can see here the student has a higher score now and a higher mark because the student completed a few of the distance learning assignments last week. So if the student continues on that path, this grade will only get higher and higher. If the student does not engage with the distance learning work, if they don't complete any of the assignments, their grade will maintain whatever is in this first column under assignment 1. So this student, for instance, with a 97 probably will stay at a 97 unless the student decides to do more. And it is highly encouraged. The work is fully online, so it's accessible through Google Classroom. The students should be familiar with that. In Math 1 especially, they've been working a lot online throughout the school year. So you can see how the previous score translates directly to the new gradebook score. If you have any questions, please email your Math 1 teacher. Here's a list of us, alphabetical order, and have a great day.